Hey, yo, we talking all the facts.
You're blind, baby. You're blind from the facts.
With the Lawfather, William Franchi.
You can't handle the truth.
On the Hip Hop Study Hall podcast with DJ Ekin.
Stand your ground. First, this question. Is it only a Florida thing?
It exists in other places, but ours is Wild West.
Right.
It's very simple, right? It is made to sound complicated. Boil it down to its lowest common denominator. It's very simple, right? And actually, the official motion is a motion for immunity, is what the actual motion is. I have one actually pending right now here in Hillsborough County. So maybe an update at the end of the month when we actually have the hearing on it.
Wow.
Yeah, but the basics of it is this: if you're in a place that you're lawfully allowed to be in, and it's a two-part statute, right? So if you look at statutes, sometimes they'll have a little description of what it is, and then they'll have a part one and a part two. And what those part ones and parts twos are essentially like degrees of how bad things have to be in this situation. So part one is my ability to defend myself when it's non-deadly, right? Meaning that you come up and I see that you have a fist cocked back and you're ready to hit me. What can I do, right? I can't shoot you because you have a fist, right? Yeah, could you make the argument that a fist is a deadly weapon? You could, but it's not legitimate. Like in law enforcement, I always knew if some guy was coming up and they were going to punch me in the head, I knew I had to do something. I had to move. I had to just make sure that I didn't get hit and knocked out because it could become deadly because, well, we always had guns, right? But regular person, everything else, you go and, yeah, you might knock me out. Yeah, theoretically, could you kill me with a punch? Yeah, maybe I hit my head on the corner of this desk and, down I go and that's it, right? But by and large, it's not deadly. So I can't meet your non-deadly force with deadly force. Okay, so that's the first part of the subsection, right? So you come after me, I'm in a place where I'm lawfully allowed to be in, you come at me, I don't have to run away. There's your stand your ground, right? That's where stand your ground comes in. I can stand my ground as you're coming at me.
Okay.
And you're coming to punch me and I can punch you back. That's the first part of it.
Can I throw this in there?
Sure.
5'7" and 3/4. Please don't ever leave that off. 5'7" and 3/4. That's what I am. $148, $153 on a good day. Bucks linebacker. Clearly 240.
Right.
245. Grabs my girlfriend's butt in the club. I got a whole scenario in my mind. Grabs my girlfriend's butt in the club. I turn around and go, dude, come on, man. Like, bro, you know me, man. Like, why? Man, shut up, little DJ guy. Bro, you gotta chill, bro. Pushes me. Bro, I'm already like, first of all, 100 pounds on me easy. Works out every day, is muscle. Here comes the fist. I definitely feel like this could be it.
Yeah.
I may not get up from this one. Do I have a better stand your ground case, or do I still not have a stand your ground case? And we're just talking about the first part of it, right? Because to me, him weighing 100 more pounds than I do, him being professional football player, everybody in this room sees he is clearly bigger than me. Touches my girlfriend's ass, that's aside. I'm not even going that far. I'm not even gonna, I should have used deadly force. Okay, no, I shouldn't have. But that part. Now, going by what you just told me, does that put the first part of that law in a gray area?
Yeah. And I think you actually do move into the second one, but I think you get into a gray area with that. But let's change your guy to, let's just say, an MMA champ.
Right, where his fists are a deadly weapon.
But there's no real such thing as that.
Oh, I thought that's what they said about boxers. I thought they said it
sounds good in the movies.
I thought that I could have sworn. And again, I get this from a barbershop. You see what you see? You see why I need you here? Because I thought that, like, let's use Mike Tyson. I thought that, if I'm not mistaken, coming from, I think my barber told me this, and he knows everything. My barber knows everything.
They all do.
Shouts out to Mel, my barber / therapist / I don't know. But A boxer's hands are considered
deadly too.
Yeah, because I've seen some dudes get up out of a chair and that barber had some deadly hands, and woo, your head is dead, bro. But let's talk a boxer.
Sure.
I could have sworn I've heard at least 17 barbers and 18 other dudes in a barbershop say that Mike Tyson's hands are considered a deadly weapon.
So it's kind of a half right thing, right? There's no official designation of that, right? But take your same scenario,
right?
And you got Mike Tyson there, and you're not the aggressor, right? He starts it, and you go, dude, what are you doing? Like, what's going on here, right? And he pushes you, then you see him coming, and you see him cock back like he's gonna punch you, right? Oh yeah, you, me, Jason. I think we all have carte blanche to shoot him, right? Absolutely, right? Or use some sort of deadly force. So it doesn't have to be, here's the thing, it doesn't have to be a gun. It could be a knife, it could be a rock, it could be anything, any type of deadly force. I think you would be in that part too, which is because it's not just death, right? So it's not just that being punched by Mike Tyson could kill you. It could cause you great bodily harm.
Right.
So part two is that you can defend yourself with deadly force if death or great bodily harm is imminent.
So that's part two of it.
That's part two of it. Yeah. So that's when the part two is when you can use deadly force. So Mike Tyson punching you, and I want to say that I've actually seen kind of the physics on Mike Tyson's punching, that it actually, like, you have about 100% chance of having brain damage as a result of getting punched in the head by Mike Tyson. Especially
bare fist, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess what people don't necessarily know about boxing is those gloves have some padding in them. And when you're in the professional ranks and you're fighting a heavyweight fight, there's not that much padding.
Right.
But there's still some, right? So it takes a little bit off.
And if you'd like to see the damage that a Mike Tyson punch can do, you can Google Mitch Green, right? Isn't it Mitch Green? He hit Mitch Green with bare fist in a bar or something in Brooklyn back in the day. Some bar, Mike Tyson got into it with Mitch Green, who's also a boxer, and Mitch Green did not look. He looked like he might have wished he had deadly force, and Yeah. But so with that being said, and I don't know if he saw it coming, because from what I understand, Mike Tyson's hands are so quick, you're not seeing that coming.
Well, that's the other part of the problem,
right? For the deadly force. Okay, so that's the second part of it,
right? So you have to legally be there, right? So you can't trespass. Right? Or you can't be breaking into someone's house, right? You can't break into someone's house, shoot the homeowner, and go, well, I was acting in self-defense because the homeowner was going to shoot me. No, you just bought that bag by breaking into that guy's house, right? So, but yeah, so once you're lawfully there and someone's attacking you, you either have one or you have two. One being that you can fight back without deadly force to stop it, or two, the force is sufficient coming towards you that you can use deadly force. Now, what's interesting is back when Zimmerman was running stand your ground, and I would wonder if they would do it differently today, the way the law is written today versus then, because it is even easier today than it was then. So we talk about burdens, right, on the legal side, and what the burden is really just saying, who has to prove it? Right? Is it the defense that has to prove it, or the state that has to prove it? Right? So in a criminal trial, to kind of break it down, the state has to prove that the defendant did it. Okay. So if the state doesn't prove it, they don't win. Okay. Stand your ground when Zimmerman case was going on, and up until I think about 3 years ago, right? Maybe 4 now at this point, it all kind of blends together, but it was on the defense to prove.
That's what I was going to ask you. Okay.
It was on the defense to prove that it was self-defense, right? And that it was reasonable, and all the elements to it, all the facts that come into play with it, the defense had to prove that it was self-defense.
But they chose not to even use the standing ground. They just fought that he was innocent.
Right. Well, they argued self-defense in trial.
Okay. Right.
Okay. So,
but they didn't use the stand your ground portion where they had to prove that it was an actual stand your ground case.
Right.
But they went for this was self-defense. That's why he did use the force that he used.
Correct. Because the reality is, if they had tried to run a stand your ground motion on it, with no other witnesses, he would have had to testify.
And that's what they didn't want.
You would not want him to test. You don't want to, generally speaking, broad generalization, you don't want a defendant testifying anyway. You definitely don't want a defendant testifying twice, because they can use that first testimony to call you a liar on your second testimony if it differs at all, right? It's called impeachment. So if you ever hear on TV they're talking about impeachment,
right?
Basically they're just saying, you said it one way here, and you said it differently here, so now you're lying here because you said it this way here. So you don't want that, right, in a criminal case at all. But they've changed it now. So now the defense just has to prove what's called a prima facie case of self-defense. And what that means is, I don't know why the law likes Latin. Like, just call it what it is, right?
Right.
But it means on its face, right? So on its face of what happened, it's self-defense. Now the state then has to prove that it's not self-defense. So they flip the burden, right, of who has to prove what onto the state, which makes it more in line actually with the way a criminal trial goes anyway.
So basically what you're saying is it's not in any way, shape, or form as black and white as it sounds.
It is not. And I'd love to, because we get into these like big stories, right, that are outside of what the normal person's most likely going to run into.
Right.
I'd love to reconnect on this after March, at the end of March, after I have my hearing, and I get hopefully the case goes away and I can get the necessary okays to talk about it, because it's not some like outlandish set of scenarios. It is really, truly speaking, something that could happen to anybody in everyday life.
Right. Well, we're getting, when speaking of that, we're getting a lot of these road rage videos that we see, right? Yeah. And let's talk about that, right? George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, one of the things you mentioned is we don't know what happened in between.
Right.
Why is it so often that we see something though, and let's not even put color in it. Let's just put road rage. Some guy gets out of his car. He starts walking to my window. He's banging on my window. Him just knocking on my window, though, that probably, going by what you're saying, would not be considered putting my life in jeopardy. But what if I feel like that because this guy's gotten all the way out of his car, and I'm not even saying he has a stick right now, but right. I have seen videos where a guy's banging on a window and he's got a pipe or whatever. Does that start to push we start getting in that gray area now of like whether I feel like I'm fear for people have said they are in fear for their life or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, and I'll go back to the law enforcement training that I've had, right? You know, one of the most dangerous places to be? In the driver's seat of a car.
Wow.
Even as a deputy, with a gun on your side that you can easily get to. You know how hard it is to get to while you're seated in a car?
With the seatbelt on. Most of the time.
Even without a seatbelt. And we ran through scenarios with that and how difficult that it was, right? So now think about it like this. You're just Joe Citizen out there. You're probably stopped at a red light if this is happening, right? And you should stop far enough back that you could maneuver out, but let's be honest, most of us don't, right? I don't always. Sometimes I do, right? But what if you're in the middle lane? And even if you left yourself space, there's cars on either side, and you got this guy coming up and banging on your window. You don't really have anywhere to go. You can't really climb over and go to the passenger seat. It's not really realistic in most cars. What if you have a passenger and then you gotta wait for that person to get out? Then you gotta get out. So there's all these other factors. So I think you have a much better and easier ability to go, yes, it was self-defense because I got this guy banging on my window. Now, can you go shoot that guy if they're just banging with their fist on the window? No, probably not. Can you shoot the guy before the window breaks? That gray area, extreme gray area. But once it breaks and he's still swinging a pipe and there's nowhere for you to go, well, even in Florida, you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to show that you could go anywhere, right? So, I mean, could you? Yeah, I mean, I would think so. And
I actually was going to throw in there that, as always, like that's the reason I've seen them is because someone is recording that.
Yeah, that's true.
Would that video become super crucial, I'm guessing?
Oh, absolutely. The case that I've mentioned to you, I have video. So does the state.
But the interpretation is probably very different on both sides.
Yes.
Normally.
Well, the interpretation is very different because the video is extremely blurry, so it's really difficult to see what happened.
Okay.
Yes.
Man. Well, like I said, I appreciate you as always because again, and I laugh a lot about saying that barbershop talk, you know what I'm saying? But and I enjoy it. You know, barbershop banter to me is even better than watching sports shows sometimes on ESPN. It is, because you get all these opinions and you get these fans, you get people, and then you get into these conversations that are about real news that's happening. And one of the things that, like I said, that I really want the next generation to understand is a lot of these things have consequences. These actions have consequences, right?
Absolutely.
And one of the things that you said that I say all the time is, once you pull that gun, though, you're in a very different space,
Oh, yeah.
And, I just read a case in Atlanta at a state fair out there, right, that an altercation breaks out. Somehow a gun gets involved. You got a 16-year-old kid dead. You got a 17-year-old kid injured and a 19-year-old kid injured. These kids aren't even 20, right? Yeah. But someone pulled a gun, and whatever was happening just super escalated.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you pull that trigger, or even when you pull it out, like, there often is no coming back from that. Something is probably going to happen. I'm not sure if you ever really hear that someone pulled a gun and everybody else just walked away and cleared the place. Usually something happens. 95%, I'm guessing something happens after that gun gets pulled. Somebody the other person doesn't back down, or usually a gun comes from somewhere else, or, there's shooting. So that was one of the reasons that, like I said, I really appreciate when you take the time to have these conversations with me, because I think that, the lines, they get really blurry, and the gray area can really get people in a lot of trouble thinking that they know exactly what's in black and white.
Yeah. Well, and look, an interesting one to look at is that Curtis Reeves won. And I know they had looked at stand your ground. I remember there being an appeal, because I was doing a stand your ground case. Well, their case was an appeal for stand your ground, but there's no racial undertones to it. So it makes it very kind of neat and clean from a legal analysis perspective. But you want to talk about one where you really change the course of things by pulling a gun.
Right.
That's a really interesting one to look at, because, he was found not guilty, which doesn't necessarily mean he's innocent, right? Just kind of remember that not guilty doesn't equal innocent.
Right.
Right. But there's just really interesting one to look at and kind of evaluate from the stand your ground, and just knowing that when you pull that gun, there are consequences. Right. So, yes, was he found not guilty? Sure. But he spent a ton on legal fees, and he spent some time in jail. Right. I mean, I don't think he didn't bond out same day. Right. Something like that. You usually got to see the judge. Right. So, there's definitely consequences for everything, even if in the end you're found not guilty.
Right. And for those who don't even understand, know all about that was here in Florida as well.
It was Pasco County.
Pasco County. And I've been in that theater a lot of times, dude, because I go to movies every Tuesday, especially when AMC was $5 Tuesday, then half price Tuesday. Yeah. Because something I did with my dad a lot when I was little. So the movies are still like a place for me, like a good space for me. And I'll go by myself, but you thinking you're in this movie. And I think the previews were still on, right? When this happened,
yeah.
It was the previews. This guy's in there with his family. I don't know what made the altercation start. What really got me about that whole thing, though, looking at the video, it wasn't even a packed theater. So they really didn't even have to be that close together.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But they wound up that close together, pretty much the family in front of this guy. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. When I go to a theater, right, and it's not that packed, I do everything I can not to be sitting like right on people. For whatever reason, either they might talk, or I just think I got enough space I can sit anywhere. So it was so many things in that. Like the guy's was a former police chief or officer, right?
He was a captain, I believe.
Former police captain, right? And whatever the altercation was, just that quick, he pulled a gun and shot the guy, and the guy's gone. So a kid doesn't have a father.
Yeah.
Wife doesn't have a husband anymore.
It wasn't even that quick. Like this one, there's a lot to unpack in it, right? Because they have their initial, we'll call it an altercation. I'm not even really sure how much you can truly call it an altercation over this guy being on his cell phone during previews. How dare you be on your cell phone during previews? Like, come on, dude, get over yourself, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And then so Reeves then goes out, talks to the manager at the movie theater, and then goes back in. And that's when the shooting happens, is after he's back in. And I can't remember, and it's terrible that I can only remember the shooter's name. I can't remember the other guy's name. But they were a row in front and over. So they weren't actually directly in front of each other.
Right.
To me, I go, and I remember I talked about this one some, right? I go, how is the defense possibly going to win this? Because this guy, in order to have done something major to Reeves, would have had to come over a seat, right? From being down below.
Right.
Right? Not up higher, but lower. And usually the person higher is at an advantage.
Right.
So I mean, there was a lot for them to overcome.
Wasn't it something too about some popcorn being thrown, or he threw some popcorn?
Yeah, the victim threw popcorn. How dare he throw popcorn? Okay, probably not the best move. Don't throw popcorn at people in movie theaters,
right?
Especially because these days I feel like people are a little bit crazier than they used to be, right?
Yeah,
used to be like back in our day, you threw popcorn at somebody, maybe you throw some fists, and everybody goes home, and that's that, right?
No, they're not. It's no fisticuffs nowadays.
No. I mean, his defense team did a great job, right? I mean, I didn't think they had a chance of winning, and that jury was out for 3 hours, week-long trial, 3 hours, and the jury came back with a verdict.
Yeah, I saw when the verdict came back, the comments were crazy on Facebook. Like, like you said, people, for lack of a better term, almost in an outrage, a bunch of people were, it was kind of chaotic. But again, like I said, my biggest thing with these conversations is to get some clarity, because even me, I'd be confused. Like, because I'll see different things and I'll read and I'll be like, well, how did that happen? I appreciate you. And also, I appreciate you too, man, letting me use Lawfather headquarters, a.k.a. Lawfather Studios, to record this episode of the podcast. It's been pretty awesome as always. And always, I appreciate, man, the insight you give me. And it's always like, is it layman's terms? It's layman's terms, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I told you, dude, I know some words, Jason. I know some words. Layman's, just so I can understand, and because that's honestly, and I say this all the time, that's what I want to get out. There's so many stories that, and we talk about this stuff when I see you, that once it gets convoluted and clouded, there's so many different things going on. And believe me, we got the internet now, so it's even worse. So I appreciate you taking the time to, help us get through some clarity.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on.
Where as always can they find you?
At The Lawfather. All the socials, at The Lawfather.
Keep things pretty.
I do, except for I can't get my Instagram to be just at The Lawfather. So it's at The Lawfather Tampa.
Oh.
Because someone has at The Lawfather.
Oh.
And by the way, we own the trademark. Wait, we're off on a real tangent. I own trademark for Lawfather. And I still can't get Instagram to give me at The Lawfather.
Are you actually talking to Instagram? Did they respond when you hit them up? Do they respond?
Yeah, they respond. They have, if it's copyright or trademark infringement, there's a form that you fill out and send it right in.
Oh. I think that person's working this week too. You know why? Because all of a sudden this week, again, they went like to videos I have that are 4 years old and stuff, and they're like old music stuff. Someone's claimed this. We're taking, this person can't, no one can see this in these countries. And I'm like, oh, that person's working again. But then what'll happen in like 3 weeks, it'll come back and go, this wasn't infringement, and your videos are back up. Dude, first of all, there are videos from like 3 years ago that I forgot I even put up in my Instagram, right? But it's like, I wonder, does this person work like every 6 months that does this? Because they just come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden I'll start getting these notifications on Instagram. This video has been removed, and it'll show me a list of countries. Like, dude, like I at this point I don't even care. First of all, because it'll be like a 3-year-old video.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that person must be off vacation, or they started this department back up again.
Well, so you know how they do it? If someone makes a complaint, it goes through their algorithm and it automatically takes it off and saying that you're infringing, and then someone real comes through and looks at it and makes the determination. So that's why you see it, and then you see it come back on. Because that's what happened with the Lawfather one, was they took the guy's account down.
Right.
And then about a week or two later, he had his account back, and they told me they ruled against me. We're going to try it again, though. Might as well.
You know what we'll talk about soon?
What's that?
Trademarks. Ooh. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a good one.
Really pertinent for
I know.
Personal branding, and
we did it for Hip Hop Study Hall. I know it's a super crazy one.
Yep.
We
talk about branding too and marketing, because I mean, with working with NFL players, had a little bit of experience in that, and yeah.
Is there something you don't do? Do you cook?
I cook. Yeah, I'm Sicilian. Of course I cook.
You should that's what you should do. You should get a YouTube channel, The Lawfather Cooking. Dude, you be over here discussing a case, but you're also preparing like a special dish that puts you in the mindset of that case.
I think I'm gonna make that happen.
Yeah, because I got like the cooking show idea came to me yesterday, and we got to go soon. But I was a friend of mine was cooking, and she cooks awesome, phenomenal, right? And I said we should start a YouTube channel. She cooks because I can't, and all I'm doing in the kitchen is messing things up. Like I'm messing things up. But you're showing me. I got to stop telling this idea, because the 5 people watched person number 3. Next thing I know, they got a blown up YouTube channel because they started something that we talked about. Can't do that. No more details. No more details.
Lawfather Cooking coming soon.
Dude, like. Yeah. My guy, The Lawfather. The Lawfather. The Lawfather. I like that. The Lawfather.
Yeah, jingle coming soon.
We can work on that. We can get that done. I do want to work on that for real. I think, dude, jingles are the way. You get a jingle and they start singing it.
Oh yeah,
dude, they start singing the Jingle Boy, and it's like
we'll get on iTunes.
Yeah,
big time streaming. Spotify, look out. Taylor Swift, here we come.
Do you do entertainment law at all?
Not anymore.
You did though?
Yeah.
We're gonna have some other conversations. The Lawfather, a guest. We're at Lawfather headquarters. I am DJ Ekin. I appreciate you, man, as always, and I appreciate everybody that rocked with us right here at the Hip Hop Study Hall podcast. Yeah, enlightening.
Always.
Don't forget, as Ben tells me all the time, and Jason says, shouts out to Radio Influence. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, download, subscribe, like, all that stuff, and share. I am DJ Ekin, Tampa's most connected DJ. I promise you, I am looking to learn something weekly. You'll be back soon, though.
Sounds good.
I promise. Oh yeah, and also too, when you finish that case, I need you to come back.
Yes, couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks. We're gonna keep moving around too. I like this studio, but I think we move around. I think we get you in a recording studio one day too. We talk about some entertainment stuff.
We could do that. Can we get some turntables for that one?
Dude, I can get the studio setup. I can get.
Let's make that happen.
We can get that made.
We can go old school on it with vinyl.
My guy. It's Hip Hop Study Hall, the podcast, man. We out. Stop playing. Don't forget, man, hit that subscribe button right now so you can catch all the updates and all the haps here at Hip Hop Study Hall, all right? It's your man, DJ Ekin. I see you. Subscribe. Hit it now.